What sort of relationship do we have with our enemies? It can certainly vary, as it will be determined not only by alignment, but by emotions. That type of relationship is what I believe to be the overarching theme of Hazbin Hotel Season 2. This is not a speculation of authorial intent, nor an attempt to box the story into a singular, proper interpretation. The ways in which a work can resonate with its viewer are infinite, and my goal is to express one such resonance. Where the purpose of a review is to provide a gauge to the viewer of whether the work in question is worth their time and or money, the purpose of my analysis is to offer perspective that will hopefully magnify one's enjoyment of the work in question. Now recap and spoilers from this point. Charlie Morningstar and co were unable to convince Heaven to give her redemption idea a try, and so as a next resort against the imminent extermination of Hell's sinners, starting with Charlie's hotel and friends, our main cast had resorted to the tried and true old-fashioned solution of arming up, planting a flag, and shouting, "Get the hell off my lawn." They fight, win, the hotel got blown up, they rebuilt it, Penchus was a casualty, he got redeemed, Charlie continues her journey to redeem the screw-ups of Hell, relations between Heaven and Hell are a scary and uncertain Cold War, and that's where Season 2 picks up. Most major plot points and character developments are expressed through song. The first song is Hazbin Guarantee, in which Charlie affirms the purpose of the hotel to be redemption, flying in the face of Sinner's expectation that it was a training camp to fight the angels. Redemption is not gratifying nor easy, and despite the song's title, there is no guarantee nor even likelihood of it coming to fruition, though to be fair, the guarantee being offered is being welcomed, not redeemed. Contrast with the second half of the song, which is sung by the V's, the season antagonists, in which they pick a sinner off the street, give her a devil's bargain for fame and fortune, groom her to be a star, then she's tossed out the door the moment she's no longer useful. This is the first enemy relationship to be introduced in the season, the antagonism between Charlie and the V's, and their two fundamentally different offers to the masses, of a difficult, uncomfortable commitment that comes with hope of a better tomorrow versus an easy, quick, seductive sale of one's dignity, privacy, and integrity for fleeting gratification, after which one is left more unsatisfied than before. This is the core enemy relationship of the season that comes to a head in the climax, with other songs exploring the theme in the many other forms it can manifest. The tertiary theme. The second song of episode 1 is Once We Get Up There, in which Vox, the leader of the V's, sells his partners on the idea of taking over Heaven, and all of the wonderful things they'll have if they do. An enemy relationship with Heaven itself, based on covetousness, the will to take from another, a trait of Vox's which was displayed at a surface level during the V's part in Hazbin Guarantee, the desire for shortcuts to gratification to fill the meaning-shaped hole in one's being. The only meaningful difference between Vox and the starlet he tempted is that he has more power and has taken that life to a greater extreme. And what greater shortcut to gratification is there than enforcing one's way into the quintessential paradise and presuming to rule it? Vox admits to the hollowness of this victory for him should he attain it in the song itself, when he fantasizes about exacting petty vengeance on those who doubted him, despite the mass numbers of people he would hold power over as ruler of Heaven being part of the value he wishes to seize. A leech is the enemy of its host, and the nature of that antagonism is need. Episode 2 is set in Heaven and focuses on the redeemed Penchus and the aftermath of the battle in Season 1. Its first song, Like You, is predicated on Emily trying to make Penchus feel welcome in Heaven, while Penchus tries anything in reach to find a way to see his friends in Hell again. As a winner, a human soul residing in Heaven, Penchus cannot leave. The song explores the theme in its null state, and it's made abundantly clear to Penchus that in the aftermath of his exoneration at the trial, he has no enemies in Heaven. He's totally unique and also, partly as a result of the prior two facts, completely alone, with Emily's attempts to welcome him serving only to highlight this. An enemy is a presence in one's life, despite the negative factors inherent to the concept, and Like You is contrasted on this level by Penchus' song in the next episode, which is about the mutual nostalgia he feels toward his old enemy in Hell, and the warmth they find in their similarities with each other contrasts with the cold loneliness of being unique in heaven. The next song is Sarah's Confession, which focuses on Sarah's guilt over ordering the exterminations and uncertainty over how to go forward in light of Penches's redemption, which is proof it was possible all along. Sarah's enemy is hell in a broad sense, and the nature of this antagonism is the question of past transgressions, concern over reprisal, and of whether the further killing is justified or necessary. Now, I love this song and its sentiment, but I don't like this direction for Sarah's character. Guilt and a desire for redemption. No, she fell to the dark side before the show started, and forever should it dominate her destiny. But I digress, that's not the main topic of this video. The song is about relating to your enemy and determining that you're fundamentally the same, in this case sinners in need of redemption. Gravity. Luke cannot cope with the loss of Adam and desires revenge, an example of needing your enemy not as a host to be leeched, but as a debtor for something one feels they've taken away. Luke blames Charlie for Adam's permanent dirt nap, but also expresses a desire to connect with her in a twisted way by having her experience the same loss Luke did, reaching for anything to fill the void. It's one thing to crave accountability from those who wronged you, but this is not that. There's no rational universe in which Adam's unaliving was unwarranted or unjustified. In the lyrics, she implies that she needed Adam and feels incomplete without him. Luke's revenge drive is shaped by hollowness, not conviction, an ugly, tragic form of antagonism. It's an interesting irony that episode 2 is set in heaven, yet its 3 songs are about a deep-rooted need for something the character lacks. I don't like the show's depiction of heaven as an urban utopia where people are always having fun and socializing. I think in the quintessential paradise, people would do the productive things that gave them fulfillment in life, for that reason. But I digress. Episode 3 and Piss, a Love Song, is a duet between Penches in heaven and Cherry Bomb in hell, in which they reflect on their past rivalry and how it fulfilled them, and this nostalgia giving way to romantic feelings. An antagonism that evolves into genuine connection and caring. Very wholesome. Next is Speedrun to Redemption, in which Charlie tries to recreate Sir Penches's redemption with angel dust. The antagonism is between Charlie and Vox, to whom she is trying to prove redemption in the wake of Vox slandering Charlie and the Hazbin Hotel, while Vox is only taking the opportunity to farm material with which to slander Charlie more. A relationship in which you attempt to engage with your enemy in good faith in order to win them over, find common ground, or prove their claims wrong. Charlie's actions during the song are cringy and doomed to fail, just like her attempt to engage Vox on his terms and appeal to an allegiance to truth which he lacks. Meanwhile, in the background, actual progress toward Charlie's goal happens in spite of her effort to prove her position to Vox, with Cherry Bomb choosing of her own volition to stay at the hotel as a guest in the wake of her processing of Penches's redemption and reflection on what he meant to her in Piss, a Love Song. This highlights further the nature of Charlie's effort to shield her reputation as a distraction from the worthy goal. Don't You Forget is about being a debtor enslaved to a creditor, a duet between Rosie and Alistair in which Rosie affirms this as the nature of their relationship. The reprise of the song between Alistair and Vox is the same in nature. Clean It Up. Nifty happily sings about cleaning messes and killing rats at the hotel, farming petty enemies for XP. Bad With Us is about the triumph of having defeated one's enemy and the profitable aftermath. Vox Populi and Vox Dei are about a common enemy as a basis for unity. Love in a Bottle and Losing Streak are about being one's own enemy and unable to win, making oneself one's worst enemy. Easy is sung by Vaggie and Charlie about their love being an achievement in and of itself. The song is thematically irrelevant. Brighter is about indiscriminate antagonism. The lyrics describe the will to take what you want and being a predator in nature. This is the song of Vox's origin, and his enemy was anybody who possessed or stood in the way of the next thing he wanted. Live to Live is the antithesis to Brighter. Rather than being an indiscriminate antagonism toward momentary targets, is a discerning characterization of one's enemies in general. The characterization is of sinners, Sarah's enemies, as fallen, fallible beings who fear their mortality, and concludes the sinner's drive for war to be a temporary feeling which there remains a chance to overcome without fighting. When I think about the future as a mix of previous songs in preparation for the finale, Now, let's round back to the core conflict of the season between the hotel and Voxtech, expressed in the season's first and final song. The difficult pursuit of virtue versus the fast, easy gratification with a future cost. And it can go further than that in the nature of the antagonism between Charlie and Vox, that which exists between good and evil. Charlie's goal is redemption for sinners, with no desire to cheat, lie, or tempt, not even willing to assert the possibility of redemption dishonestly, only doing so after Emily, whom Charlie trusts, tells her it happened. Vox, on the flip side, offers the world and makes gratifying villains of his enemies. On a political level, Vox becomes progressively more powerful, while Charlie's goody-two-shoes ways appear impotent to stop him. He defeats Alistair and rides that momentum to make alliances with the other overlords, rallying the Pride Ring behind his cause of taking over heaven, the ultimate temptation to obtain the fruits of virtue without needing to practice it, and the opposite of the uncertain in outcome but substantive redemption offered by Charlie, the wide, easy road versus the narrow, difficult one. Vox repudiates Charlie's desire for peace in favor of revenge, using Hell's newfound means of fighting the angels, brushing aside the fact that it was Charlie and her friends who shielded them all from the last extermination. She has far more legitimacy than Vox in deciding whether Hell continues fighting the war. I find it amusing that Charlie is the heir to the throne who actually protected Hell from the last extermination, but Vox is able to pursue war nonetheless by convincing large masses of people to support him. A good monarchy versus an evil democracy. The sinners are right in their desire to retaliate against heaven, counterattacking them for the previous 7 years of exterminations, and in a more realistic world, this would be necessary to prevent further attacks from happening. But in this world, where the political paradigm can be altered by revelations raised supernatural laws, in the form of heaven no longer wanting to do exterminations in light of redemption, such a counterattack is not necessary, and they would die for nothing. This doesn't stop Vox from riding the sentiment for his own purposes, pushing for an unnecessary war based on prior deaths being bad, all to twist public sentiment to supporting his goal of conquering heaven. Such is the nature of wicked temptation. It's all image, all imagined rather than real value. Rightness on a surface-based emotional level being extrapolated to rightness in substance. Vox populi, vox Dei means the voice of the people is the voice of God. The idea that your words are true as long as the masses approve of it. In essence, it's the substitution of genuine rightness with popular consensus. When shown up by Lucifer and offered an olive branch of peace by the angels during his rally, Vox is able to twist it all to his benefit, and would have been able to do so no matter what the other participants did. Had Lucifer attacked Vox, he could claim victimhood, and his not doing so allowed Vox to declare Lucifer weak. He was able to mock the angels' offer of peace, and at the same time paint it as a revelation of their true colors when Sarah threatened him. This is the formlessness of evil. As soon as it gains power and begins to exercise it, right becomes whatever the evil says is right at any given moment. The good is the good for whatever desire the evil holds in the buried, shifting pocket containing what vague will to live and achieve which it might possess. Vox has no clear goal in his own mind. It shifts between power, proving others wrong, feeling like a god, being better than Alistair, a swirling vortex in his being, feeding into the void of what's missing. A big reason he ultimately fails to achieve any of these goals is his failure to focus on one of them. Vox wins the rally. He becomes more powerful. More overlords join him. Carmilla has agreed to build his weapon. He's successfully captured Lucifer to use as a power source for it. He has grown massively, and soon he'll have everything. And yet, despite all of this, he still needs to prove Alistair wrong, needs Charlie to say he's the strongest sinner and concede defeat. Not at any pragmatic level that's necessary to his plans, but a personal, psychological need to fill the void in his being. And that ties into why he's obsessed with Alistair. From the beginning of his story, the greatness he aspired to achieve was the perception of being great in the eyes of others, shining brighter by being a reflective surface for light that comes from the beholder. A common trait of people driven by shallowness is that they'll pursue the effect of something as a substitute for its root cause. All the antagonists have this in common, whether it's Luke pursuing punishment as a substitute for justice, Valentino pursuing bodily desire as a substitute for the love he's shown to covertly crave, or Velvet farming social media clout while being shown to lack the self-assurance that would attract followers in a non-tailored environment. Vox offers heaven as a substitute for virtue, to attain power as a substitute for merit, and in his own internal motivation, the image of greatness as a substitute for the real thing. Alistair sees Vox's facade of greatness for what it is, and not only refuses to partake in his illusion, but mocks him for it. Even Charlie, someone who couldn't be more different from Vox character-wise, was roped into engaging with him on his own terms when he slandered her. Alistair, despite being every bit as evil a character as Vox, is the glitch in his matrix, the hole in his balloon, the one defect in his invented reality which, when fixed, will make it real again. Here we arrive at the nature of the antagonism between good and evil. Evil is the absence of good, and when it drives the actions of men, it is a parasitic force that feeds off the good. Every advancement in Vox's plans was made possible by the willful assistance of another person, by twisting traits of theirs which are noble or justified to his own ends. Whether it's leveraging the genuine friendship he's shown to ultimately have with the other V's, exploiting the sinner's justified desire to retaliate against heaven, Carmilla's desire to protect her family, Sarah's desire for redemption, Charlie's desire for honesty, and even Lucifer's desire to connect with Charlie. The good is preoccupied with living, while the evil is preoccupied with living off the good. It holds the advantage, a parasite in the bowels of its host that believes itself to be invincible when in reality it's death. Vox's final major action in the story, before being neutralized, was to attempt to destroy himself and everyone around him, just so he could have the gratification of finally ending Alistair. And what did Charlie do in the face of all of this? Other than the setback of trying to prove redemption to Vox, she simply had integrity toward her values, giving up renown to affirm the hotel as a place of redemption, launching a plan to stop the war by proving redemption directly to the public, all of which aligns with the goal she had from day one, saving her people. At the same time, her friends go to rescue Angel Dust, as well as trying to disable Vox's superweapon, all to save people, all to prevent a needless slaughter. And when Vox's power and plans implode, when his smoke clears and mirrors shatter, Charlie's integrity is what's left standing in the rubble, and culminates in the season's final song, Hear My Hope, in which Emily, Charlie, and friends pour their power into containing the unstable superweapon whose explosion threatens to destroy them all, and the entire Pride Ring sees this, and joins into it. Evil characters like Vox and Alistair are preoccupied with power, manipulation, who gets to captain the ship and the capture of other ships, while without the virtue of good people, there would be no floating ship for them to play captain atop. Good is naturally opposed to evil, but its existence does not depend on it. The focus of the song was in everyone saving themselves, on living, a goal in which they all found common cause, as no value is possible to the non-existent. The quiet integrity that gave rise to this brings a more resilient unification of hell than anything Vox did toward the same end. A distraction erupts and is clamped down, a deal made in the background, and a now powerless Vox impotently whines. But this is not the preoccupation of the good. Its proper preoccupation is with living and with virtue. Imagine if Charlie had stopped contributing to the barrier around the superweapon to argue with Vox when he started complaining. All relevant things counted, her mistake of engaging with him earlier in the season was the same, in which her preoccupation became with an external evil rather than with living. Before amassing enough power to attack heaven, Vox wasn't wasn't a threat to her, only a distracting noise. The theme of Season 2 is the relationship we have with our enemies. Many such relationships are explored, and its core and final antagonistic relationship is between one party that needs an enemy to sustain itself, for whom war is an opportunity and conversation is a game of what it can gain, and another party to whom enemies are a distraction to the goal of living, and the virtue that fulfills and sustains it, and in its proper state is willing to defend itself when attacked, but does not desire war, and would like nothing more than to forgive its enemies if those enemies would just allow it. In conclusion, I found Season 2 to have far superior writing to the previous one. Vox is a well-executed villain, and the overall story more closely followed the original premise of whether sinners can be redeemed, as opposed to Season 1 in which redemption was reduced to an appeal to a higher authority and communication issue, and the climax was about the sinners defending themselves from the extermination. Self-defense is base, don't get me wrong, but as a story beat in Season 1, it was a last-minute pivot. In Season 2, there's far more emphasis on the characters' being tested and faced with choices. There's more emphasis on emotional and thematic meaning than logical consistency. What Charlie and Emily did in response to Vox's rampage in the climax was, from a logical standpoint, bad. Really bad, terrible writing, never again, do not want, but the themes and emotion underneath were good, and I could spend all day finding holes in the logic of most stories I enjoy. That doesn't justify the logical holes, but I prefer to evaluate things based on comparisons to other things, not platonic forms. Writing was a lot better than Season 1, 8 out of 10 would recommend. Thank you for watching.